Hello there, I'm Joseph Johnson and this is NT International News. The headlines. Supreme Court strikes out ruling on appeal by People's Democratic Party's petition against All Progressives Congress at the Presidential Election Petition Court. Information communication experts rub minds to explore equatorial orbit for space optimization for Nigeria's benefits. And leader of Cameroon's separatist movement and 9 followers given life sentences by a military court. President Muhammadu Buhari says the responsibility of leaders in Nigeria is to meet the basic needs for the people. The president said these at the closing of the presidential retreat for ministers designate after the 2-day retreat. He explained that his administration inherited many challenges from its predecessors. President Buhari said that work is just beginning, as the last 2 days have been very instructive for him personally because he had the opportunity to know many of the new ministers designate better.
I am therefore charging you all to seize this opportunity to serve as an honor, to give you our best to deliver on this mandate for a more prosperous Nigeria, not for some, but for all Nigerians. You will find that working collaboratively and purposefully will enable us to achieve quicker results, recognizing that 4 years is not a very long time. For the new ministers, make sure you engage and benefit from the experience of the older ministers and former governors in the cabinet.
A bit on the judiciary now. The Supreme Court has struck out an appeal by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, on the party's inability to reply the objection of the All Progressives Congress at the Presidential Election Petition Court. This appeal comes from APC's challenge of the competence of the PDP's petition at the court. The 5-man panel of the Supreme Court justices, led by Justice Datijo Muhammad, ruled that Atiku's reply was filed out of time. Olabode Arewa reports.
The appeal was filed at the Apex Court by Atiku Abubakar and his party, the People's Democratic Party, to challenge the ruling of the Presidential Election Petition Court, which held that the petitioners did not file a response to an application by the All Progressives Congress. Counsel to the PDP, Eita Jegede, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, argued that Atiku Abubakar was still within the time frame. Counsel to President Muhammadu Buhari, Wale Olanipekun SCN, and Counsel to INEC, Ustaz Usman SCN, argued that granting Atiku's prayer was of no value since the presentation of evidence at the tribunal had closed. Adoption of final addresses by all the parties has been slated for Wednesday. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
The All Progressives Congress Party is putting in place measures to improve the living conditions of Nigerians and boost infrastructural development in the country. Now, this was the Vice President's message at the presentation of a report of the Monitoring and Evaluation Situation Room, which is a compilation of evidence materials for the 2019 presidential and senatorial elections by the Presidential Support Committee. Haman Jabani reports.
The general elections were held in Nigeria on February 23, 2019 to elect the president, vice president, and members of the National Assembly. 6 months after the polls, findings from these elections have been handed over to the vice president by the Presidential Support Committee. The committee, which works with the Directorate of Programs and Consultation, Office of Senior Special Assistant to the President on Political Matters, believes that the reports will assist the party in its court cases across the country.
At the time judgment is pronounced and the opposition party says this is not right, we have something to present and say by what we have presented, these are facts in the field across the states, and as such nobody contend with proofs, especially when the evidence are beyond facts.
Vice President Osibajo, who was represented, commended the group for the sacrifice and effort towards the growth of the party.
They will aid us in research. They will aid us in a better understanding of even why the elections came out the way it did. They will aid us in planning for the future. They will aid us in compiling data. They will certainly go into our database.
Chairman of the committee says the document contains 70 pages of election report, 40 pages of pictorial, and 30 pages of statistical evidence from all the states of the country, including Abuja. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
On the case of Senator Elisha Abo, who is standing trial in Zuba Magistrates Court for allegedly assaulting a lady who has been stalled for the third time due to the absence of the senator in court. The senator is said to be suffering from acute febrile pathogenic infection and is currently admitted in a hospital in Adamawa State. On resuming from the last adjourned date, the shortee to the senator informed the court of the development and also submitted a medical report and pictures showing the senator on a hospital bed receiving treatment. With this development, the defense counsel sought for adjournment to enable his client recuperate and also study the documents intended to be used as evidence in the trial, which was served to him Tuesday morning by the prosecution.
On our part, we were ready. We came to court. We have served the necessary materials for the prosecution, and that is the one available to us and the one presented. And we were expecting, and we came to court with our witnesses. Even the IPO of the case is ready too, and the nominal complainant is also in court to have opened the case.
I am not God, and there is no way I can say a sick person will be in court. But all I know is that he is desirous to be in court. Even today, he is desirous, if not for the fact that he is done, he is desirous to be in court today. So I know he will do everything possible within his power, everything possible to be in court at the next adjournment, because this is a serious matter. He doesn't want to take it lightly. But the problem, why I cannot guarantee you 100% is that I am not going. It is God that owns the power of life and death.
The case has been adjourned to the 24th of September. Now, the Economic Crimes Commission, EFCC, has refuted allegation in some quarters that operatives of the commission raided the residence of former governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode. A statement by the acting head media and publicity of EFCC, Tony Orilade, says the EFCC did not raid Ambode's house. It is instructive that his administration, like other former governors, is under investigation since they no longer constitutionally enjoy immunity against prosecution. He therefore stated that whatever the commission is presently doing with regards to the investigation is in line with its mandate and the rule of law. Orilade wants the public to know that the commission does not carry out investigation on the pages of the newspapers or through the media. He said operations are always covered until at a time when they file charges in court. The Conference of Speakers of State Houses of Assembly has been held in Lagos with a focus on how to attain financial autonomy by the legislative arm of government in states. Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives Ahmed Idris Wase, at the opening of the conference, urged the speakers to save the local government system from imminent collapse. Babatunde Saiki reports.
The conference affords speakers the opportunity to discuss widely on legislative matters as it affects their respective states. It is also an opportunity to deliberate on issues bordering on financial autonomy and capacity building. The Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Ahmed Idris Wase, emphasized the need for skillful display of intellectual inputs, which he said requires acquisition of knowledge through training, workshops, and retreats.
The local government is the most crucial tier of government, and I believe together We'll put our hands together on deck to ensure we'll take them out of the shackles.
Chairman, Conference of Speakers, represented by the Speaker, Taraba State House of Assembly, appealed to relevant authorities in government to effect implementation of the financial autonomy of the legislature, which the President had already assented to.
The one we know is the one signed by Mr. President, and that's the one that is being recognized by the Constitution. So ours is to see that, to ensure that this provision is being implemented.
If they are not well equipped, if they are lacking a capacity on how to make law, on most of these fundamental issues, we won't be able to realize any good governance in Nigeria.
It gives us leverage to act independently. You know, when you act independently, you are free, you are liberated.
More than 25 speakers attended the roundtable conference. In Lagos, Tunde Saiki, NTA News.
Nigeria is said to have the capacity in space-dependent technologies to address her challenges, and these experts at the 9th Space Conference in Abuja are using the theme exploration of equatorial orbit for space optimization to turn around the country's fortunes. Olainka Ojo reports.
Nigeria, as a nation within the equatorial belt characterized by the ionization anomaly, is said to have a natural access to the equatorial orbit, which the country should take as an advantage. Those who know say it is feasible.
The cost of launch is lower to the cost of launching from the polar orbit.
Already, there's an international advocacy for collaboration towards exploration of the equatorial orbit. And experts here feel Nigeria should be a frontliner in the quest, just as other countries have taken advantage of the polar orbits.
If we domesticate our satellite technology in Nigeria, we'll be able to save capital flight instead of taking hard currencies out.
For a country like Nigeria, where we need a lot of revisiting of our satellites for information gathering, we need to make use of this equatorial orbit.
Experts like Umar Sani Abdullahi said, Nigeria has been in the space program for 20 years and has the capacity to actively harness space technology.
Even when there's little resources, we can be able to generate enough to do research.
Reviewing the budgetary system and procurement law to favor space science and technology, others here say can address cyber war and terrorism.
Use of implicitly programmed machines can fight against them.
With this new resolve, Umar Sani and other experts are optimistic that Nigeria's quest for optimum utilization of her space technology is on course. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
And as many countries of the world, including Nigeria, continue to explore nuclear technology for wealth and job creation, utilities as well as sundry issues on safety of nuclear materials remain a challenge. Key players in the sector are in Abuja to proffer proactive measures to mitigate nuclear leak and sabotage. Kelvin Ebo-Nwai reports.
Among other capabilities, nuclear technology has enormous potentials for generating power, which attracts the attention of interested countries to develop nuclear plants, which is Nigeria's vision with target year in 2025. Regulatory and security agencies are not, however, mindful of the threat that nuclear leak or sabotage poses to national security in a world where terror is a regular occurrence. This seminar is a brainstorming session at the Nigerian Institute for Security Studies on how to develop and implement a human reliability management program to keep those who have authority and access to nuclear reactors loyal to the system.
It's just like the knife in your kitchen. You can use it to peel yam and cook. You can also use it to kill somebody. So nuclear is like that. So we can use it for improvement in the socio-economic development of our country. And this is the emphasis of the government. That's why I have no fear.
The national political activities were developed based on this. To stop what we call the proliferation. You cannot proliferate nuclear weapons across the world because those who have it cannot apply it or use it. And some are even asked to reduce what they have as weapons. So it's an international treaty that not only Nigeria, many countries that are out of this group cannot accept to do that.
Deliberation's ultimate direction is towards the achievement of a robust safety mechanism in all sectors of the country, where nuclear technology will be deployed for economic development, including agriculture and protection of the nation's critical infrastructure. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has approved replacements for heads of federal government agencies that were recently appointed as ministers. In a statement, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, states that Senator Bashir Garba Muhammad has been appointed Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. He replaces Sadia Umar Farouk. Dr. Choma Ejikeme has been appointed Executive Secretary, Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, replacing Sharon Ikazo, while Kashifu Inuwa Abdullahi is now Director General and CEO, National Information Technology Development Agency. For Executive Commissioner, Nigerian Communications Commission, President Buhari has forwarded Adeleke Morun Foruk Adewolu's name to the Senate for confirmation and replacement for Sunday Akindare. All the appointments take immediate effect. You're watching the news on NT International, reaching you live from Abuja. The news continues in just a moment. Stay with us.
Mariam Ashley Yusuf Foundation, in partnership with the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, present Campaign Against Human Trafficking and Sexual Abuse. Theme: Curbing the Menace of Human Trafficking and Sexual Abuse in Nigeria. Speakers: Dame Julie Arkadon, Director General, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. Nollywood actress Regina Daniels, Kiki Osibajo, CEO Glammed Africa Beauty House, and other notable speakers. Date: Thursday, 22nd August 2019. Seminar at the Merit House, Maitama, Abuja. Time 10 a.m. prompt. For inquiries, please call 0803-734-7437 or 0803-7090-904. NAPTIP, ensuring a human trafficking and violence-free nation.
Thanks for staying with us. As part of measures to secure Nigeria's land and maritime borders, the Nigerian Customs Service and the Nigerian Immigration Service, in collaboration with the Armed Forces of Nigeria, as well as the Nigeria Police Force and other security and intelligence agencies, will be conducting a joint border security exercise codenamed Swift Response. A statement by the Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Customs Service, Joseph Atta, states that the joint exercise is being coordinated by the Office of the National Security Advisor and will take place in four geopolitical zones, namely South, Southwest, North Central and Southwest. It is expected that the exercise will promote interagency cooperation and increase preparedness to address trans-border security challenges such as terrorism, armed banditry, smuggling, proliferation of small arms and light weapons, amongst others. The exercise will also involve the movement of personnel, vehicles and equipment within the affected parts of the country. Let's turn our attention to health matters now, because 2 new HIV 1 and 2 rapid test kits have been evaluated and recommended to be among the first-line test kits for use in Nigeria. These bring the number of rapid test kits already available to 5. Chimdi Mandubisi has details.
Time was when many unvalidated HIV rapid test kits were reported to be all over the country, a situation believed to have resulted in misdiagnosis. To ensure standard and accurate HIV diagnosis, the Ministry of Health instituted an appropriate process for evaluating HIV rapid test kits before public use, in line with World Health Organization standard, which makes it mandatory for sensitivity of the kits to be 99%, while specificity should be 98%. Now, 2 new HIV rapid test kits, one with the capacity to detect both HIV and syphilis, about to be made available, were evaluated using blood samples collected from the 6 geopolitical zones.
We ended up with well over 1,000 samples that we used so that we can represent all the strains of HIV that exist. The results of the evaluation shows that instant HIV 1 and 2 have specificity and sensitivity of 99.7% respectively, while instant multiplex HIV 1 and 2 syphilis antibody have sensitivity and sensitivities of 100% respectively.
The Ministry of Health sees introduction and availability of more rapid test kits as measures to increase self-testing. This is as the country intensifies efforts at meeting the UNAIDS Global 1990-90 target of ensuring 90% of infected people know their status, 90% of them placed on treatment, and viral load of 90% of those on treatment suppressed by 2030. In Abuja, Chimdimma Ndubisi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, administered by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, CDC, and U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, is implementing an antiretroviral treatment search program in Rivers State to approximately 180,000 people living with HIV who have not previously received such. Ambassador Stuart Simonton led a U.S. delegation on a courtesy visit to Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike in Port Harcourt to highlight the U.S. government's $75 million budget increase for HIV control activities in Nigeria, with about $25 million allocated for the antiretroviral treatment search activities. The initiative is to advocate the elimination of user fees for all people living with HIV, antenatal care charges for pregnant women living with the virus, and other barriers hindering people living with HIV from accessing health services in order to live a normal and healthy life. And for latest developments in the financial sector, Rachel Shaibu is our guide.
Good to have you join us on this segment of the news. The Central Bank of Nigeria has recorded an oversubscription of 112.15 billion naira on its last Treasury bills auction. The CBN offered a total of 34.38 billion naira worth of Treasury bills for 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day tenors. The 91-day tenor saw an oversubscription of 10.68 billion naira, while the 182-day tenor saw an undersubscription of 1.42 billion naira, and the 364-day tenor witnessed the highest interest as it was oversubscribed by 102.88 billion naira. Meanwhile, oil prices went up on Monday after the weekend attack on Saudi oil facility by Yemen's Houthi forces. Traders also looked for signs that top economies will take measures to counteract a global slowdown. The prices were, however, limited by a downbeat report by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, which stirred up concerns about growth in oil demand. Brent crude oil, the international benchmark for oil prices, was up by 95 cents at $59.59 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained $1.34 to settle at $56.21 a barrel. Now, a check on how the equities markets fared this Tuesday. Thanks for your time. I am Rachel Shaibu.
Well, let's get to some of the other stories from around the world. A leader of Cameroon's separatist movement, Sissoko Ayuk Tabe, and 9 of his followers have been given life sentences by a military court in the capital, Yaoundé. They were charged for rebellion, complicity in terrorism, financing terrorism, revolution, insurrection, hostility against the state, propagation of fake news, and lack of identification. The English-speaking separatists argue they are marginalized by the bureaucracy and school system in the majority French-speaking country. Reports say the court session on the verdicts, which started on Monday, went on until 5:30 local time Tuesday morning. And now let's take a look at the weather prospect. And that's NTA News International. Thank you for watching. I'm Joseph Johnson. See you later.